Pokemon Sword has some of the coolest shinies out there. They may not learn any cool new moves or even have better stats, but they look amazing. Well, maybe not all of them. Shinies may be super hard to find, but I'm up for the challenge. I wanted to see if I could glide through Galar using only shiny Pokemon, with a formidable list of added rules to push my team of creatively colored creatures to their max. Can we shine brightly, or will our glow fade? Let's find out. I made my way to the starter Pokemon, and with the help of a couple mods, I was able to hunt for a shiny starter. I chose to look for a Grookey, and finding this bright green monkey was no easy task. It took me over 22 hours and 3,100 encounters, but it was all worth it as I finally found myself a shiny Grookey who I called Lime. And as I took on Hop in battle, I got to see Lime in battle for the first time, and boy does this guy look great. That Wooloo stood no chance. This was one of my longest shiny hunts ever, so if you support me not touching grass, please leave a like on the video and subscribe. My first big challenge in Milo has me facing a grass type team, and as his Eldegoss breaks the rules of this Nuzlocke by Dynamaxing, I'd need a few upgrades before taking it on. Flying type Pokemon are the perfect counter to the first gym leader, and who better to hunt for than a Rookidee? So I spent the next 13 hours and over 6,000 encounters in this stupid patch of grass until I finally found this yellow cutie who I caught and called Emerald. As I've already spent over 40 hours on this run, you'd think I'd be super careful with my Pokemon, and I tried, but completely forgot about this Hop battle which could absolutely ruin my run. I took him on super underleveled, and although Wooloo wasn't much of a challenge, his Rookidee would be a different story. I tried tanking a super effective Peck, but I was outsped and hit hard, while Scratch barely hurt him. I knew I had to swap out into Emerald, and although he looks awesome in battle, he was crit right off the bat. I then got hit by yet another critical hit Peck right after, and was left at just 3 health, while once again, my Peck did nearly no damage. I thought it was already gonna be the end of Emerald's journey as I had to stay in here, but for some reason, he went for a Leer, letting me get off yet another Peck. I thought this could be it as I swapped out into Lime and saw him go for yet another Leer, and another one too. This let me get off a Scratch, but he survived on red health. Hop then gave him a potion, but just kept leering every single turn, letting me eventually take it out at -4 defense and 13 health. Yep, it's not looking good. Subble was sent out, and I crossed my fingers as he went for a bind, but thankfully I was left at just 5 health. My branch poke wasn't able to KO, but that's when his bind hit me for residual damage and left me at literally 1 health. And while he could have ended my Nuzlocke on the next turn, he growled, which let me score the KO with another hit. Holy shit. I should not have won that battle. It was time to buff up my Pokemon. After injecting my team with a couple of completely legal substances, Lime evolved into this banana lookalike of a Thwackey, and Emerald gained a ton of extra swag by evolving into this emo Corvisquire. Now this is a team that's worthy of facing Milo. He sent out a Gossifleur while I led with Emerald. Although I forgot to heal her up before the fight, I was not worried as Gossifleur took a ton of damage from a Pluck and Rapid Spin really didn't hurt. Milo sent out his Dynamax Eldegoss next, and my Pluck did a shockingly low amount of damage, while his Max Overgrowth actually hit hard. I was able to go for one more Pluck, but Eldegoss was just way too powerful, and I knew I had to swap out into Lime. He was thankfully way tankier, and Max Overgrowth only did 10 damage, and while he missed his first hit, double hits did a surprisingly good amount of damage, and as Eldegoss chose to select his worst move and go for a Leafage, it was clear to see how this battle would end, and just like that, I had earned my first gym badge. Although Nessa's water types would be a much easier challenge, I had some business to attend to first. Yo, we should totally steal that old guy's bike. What? I would never. Get out of here, Team Star. So anyways, after stealing that old guy's bike, I was confident I could wipe the floor with the second gym leader. And I don't know what Thwackey sticks are made of, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were knives, seeing as how easily he sliced through Nessa's team. While the water type gym would be the easiest in this run, Kabu's team of fire types would be the complete opposite. And what better way to buff up my team than looking for my next encounter? But I don't think I'm ready quite yet. That's much better. With an outfit like this, I was sure to attract a shiny Pokemon with ease. I mean, who wouldn't want to join this guy's party? if there's one Pokemon I've always wanted to try, it's Colossal. Well, I was thankfully a bit luckier while searching for this guy, because after around 6 hours and 2,900 encounters, I found myself a shiny Roly-Coly. I caught him and called him Grass. But this was just the beginning, as it would go on to evolve into this bluish minecart. Now that I've already caught 3 awesome shinies, let me know what you think my team's name theme is in the comments down below. And also, tell me who your favorite shiny in Galar is. Okay, enough playing around. Let's see how my battle against Kabu went. He led with Ninetales while I sent out Grass. And while he may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, Quick Attack was next level stupid, as he only managed to get in 3 damage before I struck back hard with Rock Blast. He then charged up a powerful Quick Attack, which didn't even scratch Grass, as I went for yet another Rock Blast, which actually struck 4 times, and let me knock out the Ninetales basically unharmed. Arcanine came out next, and while his Intimidate would have been a big issue, I just swapped out into Lime, who easily tanked a bite. And as I swapped back into Grass, Arcanine went for a Will-O-Wisp, which Grass is of course immune to, and I was basically back to full strength. Arcanine's bites actually hit really hard, and I was left at just half health after the second bite, but by some stroke of luck, Rock Blast hit 5 times, and I managed to knock it out in a single hit. Centiskorch was last up, and although he's quite weak to rock, this would not be an easy battle by any means. Max Flutterby hit Grass for a ton of damage, and his Oranberry really didn't do much to help here. Rock Blast did thankfully hit 3 times, and after the next Max Flutterby struck back super hard, I ended up missing the next move, and in the blink of an eye, this battle had taken a turn for the worse. I knew I could no longer stay in, so I swapped out into Emerald while Centiskorch managed to get off a critical hit, nearly KOing him. His Dynamax did thankfully wear off on the next turn though, and with the power of Emerald's super effective pluck, I was able to somehow scrape off a win here and earn my 3rd Galarian gym badge. With 3 badges under my belt, I was now able to find a bunch of new and awesome Pokemon to hunt for. And after a quick pep talk from my fashion inspiration, I was confident that the next hunt would be a little faster. The 4th gym leader, Bea, has a team of absolute tanks that my current roster would not stand a chance facing. So knowing that, I decided to hunt for one of my personal favorite Galarian Pokemon, a Yamask. Now, this route also had a bunch of other amazing Pokemon I could find, so I'd be happy no matter what. But after around 3,500 encounters and nearly 7.5 hours, I found myself a shiny Yamask. I caught it and called it Boomslang. My team welcomed the new find with a lot of joy, so much so that Lime evolved into this grassy gorilla. Grass just heard his own name, and that made him evolve too, and this big boy would be my absolute savior later on in this run. Now, Yamask's evolution method in Pokemon Sword is interesting to say the very least. After torturing my little ghoul in the wild, it evolved into this absolute stunner of a Runerigus. And with a team like this, the next gym challenge was gonna be a walk in the park. Or so I thought. This was actually my first time playing Pokemon Sword, so I had actually prepared myself to fight Alistair instead of Bea. Bea sent out Hitmontop while I led with Boomslang. As he doesn't have any moves that could hit me, this was a free KO. Pangoro's Night Slash, however, would really hurt, so I swapped into Emerald to tank the blow, but he actually went for a workup instead, which was not good news. My Drill Peck, however, did hit him hard, and although his Night Slash was a heavy hitter, my Citrus Berry came in clutch here, as I took him out with half of my health remaining. Next up was Surfetched, and after a quick stall, I got off a Drill Peck, dealing good damage. He chose to Swords Dance on the next turn, and that let me take it out unharmed. Her Machamp was out next, and after Dynamaxing, any hit from it would be deadly, so I swapped out into Colossal, who tanked the blow with ease. I was sure he'd go for a fighting move next, so I swapped out into Boomslang, and this was the perfect choice as he took no damage at all. I then did one final swap out to avoid a G-Maxed move, and finally sent in Boomslang to end this battle off once and for all. With half of Galar's gym badges secured, Emerald finally gave in and evolved into this absolute beast of a Corviknight. Why is there a kid under the Bronzong? I'm trying to see if it has a button that makes it go ding dong, like a doorbell. What is that? Anyways, after making it through this absolute fever dream of a forest, I took on the 5th gym leader. And then, the wallpaper started whispering secrets about the basement. It knows too much. Oops, wrong house. Well, after auditioning for Opal's talent show, I finally took her on, and it was time for Corviknight to shine. Literally. I hit Weezing with a powerful Steel Wing, while Fairy Wind in return did less than 10 damage. While Mawile was sent out as my next foe, I swapped into Grass to get off a Flame Wheel. But after Mawile's Iron Defense, it didn't do much damage at all. To be fair, Mawile's Crunches were even less effective, so I still managed to get the upper hand here. Togekiss was up next, so I hit her with a Rock Blast, and while it only hit twice, it still did some great damage. And after absolutely rizzing Opal up, I have got to hit her with another Rock Blast and finish off her Togekiss. Okay, let's pretend that never happened. I was really scared staying in, as her Alcremie Gigantamaxed into this mega wedding cake, but still decided to go for a Rock Blast, and thankfully I did, as it hit 4 times, dealing loads of damage while I somehow tanked her hit with ease. My next Rock Blast only hit twice, but once again her G-Max hit was lackluster, so I just kept spamming Rock Blast until this battle was over and done with. And that's the story of how I got my 6th gym badge. Look, I know I beat Opal and all, but I didn't mean to make her go crazy. Is she looking for snacks in Bede's hair? What is going on? While Opal may not have been much of a challenge, Gordie would be a different story. He led with Barbaracle while I sent out Lime's newly evolved form for the first time, and not only does this guy look sick, but he's one hell of a beast too, as Barbaracle was knocked out in just 1 hit. Shuckle did kinda worry me though, so I sent out Boomslang to tank the Rock Tomb, and that was definitely the right choice as she literally only took 3 damage. Struggle Bug hit loads harder, this time dealing a whopping 4 damage. So although I didn't hit very hard either, it wasn't long before Shuckle was knocked out. I honestly wasn't sure how I'd fare against Stonejourner, but after he set up a Wonder Room, I was relieved to see it got knocked out in just 1 bulldoze. Last but definitely not least was his Gigantamax Colossal, and while Bulldoze did an insane amount of damage on the beast, I really didn't have a safe choice to swap out into because of his max flare. So although I was hoping to outspeed after Bulldoze dropped his defense, it just didn't happen, and unfortunately Boomslang was knocked out. You did great, buddy. The only Pokemon not weak to fire at this point was Grass. Well, that's ironic. So as I sent him out to go for a Rock Blast, he struck first and did some okay damage, but got hit like a truck by G-Max Volcalith. Grass was thankfully faster than Colossal at this point and helped me win this battle and earn my 6th gym badge. After the sad loss of Boomslang, I was heartbroken and I was barely even able to defeat the likes of Hop. There was no way my team would even stand a chance of facing Pierce and his dark types at the 7th gym. So after accidentally walking in on this Dreadnought Serenade, go Dreadnought, show us your best splash. Are you guys seriously cheering for a wild Dreadnought? Yeah, we're hoping he'll join Team Yell and give us swimming lessons. Well, the only thing I'd be swimming in is my tears after losing Boomslang. But enough feeling bad for myself, I think it's time for yet another shiny hunt. This mission took me over 10 hours and around 5,000 encounters until I finally found myself this awesome shiny Marini, who I caught and called Cucumber. Its pinkish color scheme looks great, but suits this Toxapex even better. With 4 sick shinies on my team, I felt confident taking on the 7th gym leader. Here we go, Pierce. He led with Scrafty while I sent out Cucumber. I started off by going for a Baneful Bunker, which poisoned the Scrafty. He then hit me with a Payback, which really didn't hurt, but after Scrafty's Intimidate, neither did my Liquidation. Now that Scrafty had taken some serious damage, I swapped out into Emerald on the next turn and easily finished him off with a Drill Peck. Malamar was my next foe, and while his Foul Play did some decent damage, my Drill Peck did around a third of its health in return. But after Malamar's 3rd Foul Play, I was left on just 25 health, but that didn't matter as I was able to knock it out right after. Next up was Pierce's Obstagoon, so I sent out Cucumber to tank a Throat Chop, and she did, with ease. I then of course hit him with a Baneful Bunker, leaving him poisoned, and after tanking another Throat Chop, I struck back with a Liquidation, dealing around 3 damage, but that was okay, as after stalling through another 2 turns, Obstagoon was left at under under half health. I then swapped out into Grass, who I thought would absolutely destroy the Obstagoon with a Rock Blast, and although that didn't happen, poison damage helped me secure the KO. Last up was his Skuntank, so I swapped out into Cucumber literally just to stall, and after Skuntank ran out of Sucker Punch PP, I sent out Grass to finish the job, and while one hit wasn't quite enough to KO, the next hit was, and with Pierce out the way, I only had one more gym challenge left to go. But Raihan would be no easy feat. Not even one of my Pokemon would be able to hurt Duraludon in any meaningful way, not to mention his powerful Flygon. It was clear I'd need a little extra help if I wanted to stand a chance against Raihan, so I had to take some extreme measures here. After excavating a couple of fossils, I started my hunt for a shiny Dracozolt, and while I got super lucky, it still took me over 8 hours and 2,200 encounters until I finally found a shiny Dracozolt. I was really excited to add this guy to my party, and I called him Bamboo. I thought this guy would be my team's savior, but this couldn't be further from the truth. After taking on Raihan's gym trainers, I realized that Bamboo just wasn't as good as I imagined him to be. With a subpar move pool and a terrible speed stat, I backed out of the last gym challenge and made my way to Glimwood Tangle. A shiny random Pokemon Sword just wouldn't make sense without hunting here. I mean, every encounter here is absolutely insane, and I would be happy with anything, although I really would want a Morgram. Well, after around 3,500 encounters, I finally saw some sparkles as I found myself a shiny Hattrem. I caught her and called her Amazon. Although she wouldn't become that majestic Grimmsnarl I was hoping for, her fairy typing would be a saving grace when facing Raihan's dragon types. She evolved into this beautiful Hatterene, and with the likes of Dazzling Gleam and Psychic in her moveset, it was time to take on my final gym battle. Raihan led with Flygon and Gigalith, while I sent out my pretty pink partners into battle. I of course led with a Baneful Bunker with Cucumber to poison Flygon and counter its Thunder Punch, while I hit Flygon hard with a Dazzling Gleam, almost KOing it, and Gigalith took some decent damage too. Flygon struck first on the next turn and hit Amazon really hard, but I wasn't too worried as Cucumber's Liquidation did loads of damage on the Gigalith, and Dazzling Gleam almost KO'd it too. But I was actually happy it didn't KO, because as Sandaconda was sent out, I could send an Emerald and Lime, and although this left Emerald pretty low, it was just what I needed, as on this turn, I was able to KO both Sandaconda and Gigalith, and take on Duraludon on a straight 2v1. I swapped out into Cucumber in fear of a one-hit KO on Emerald, and as Duraludon Gigantamaxed, it actually struck Lime and hit it hard. I was able to get off a Screech to lower its defense in return though. One more hit would have been the end of Lime, so I had to swap out once again, this time sending Emerald back out, and he thankfully tanked a Max Steel Spike with ease. Once again though, I was vulnerable and had to send out Grass in place of Emerald, and thankfully Duraludon targeted Cucumber, letting me get the free swap in. At this point, Duraludon's G-Max was over, but he still nearly KO'd Grass with a critical hit Stone Edge. But with his lower defense, I was able to hit him down low too. I had to do one last swap in here, and I guess Bamboo did come in handy as he tanked the Stone Edge well, and surprisingly, it was actually Cucumber who finished this battle off with one last liquidation. And just like that, I had earned my 8th and final gym badge. With a team full of awesome shiny Pokemon, the only thing standing in the way of me becoming champion was Winden Stadium. And while Marnie's team of poison types would have been a real threat earlier on in this run, Amazon Psychic typing paired with Emerald Steel typing made this battle an absolute walk in the park. Now, you'd think after battling me countless times throughout this run, he'd have improved significantly and come up with a strategy to destroy me. Nope, Dynamaxing just isn't gonna be enough to beat me, Hop. Well, that was fast. Well, while Oleana and her big bag of garbage tried to stop me from foiling Rose's evil plans, Emerald was not having any of it, and absolutely destroyed her with a couple of Steel Wings. And Hop? Well, as his team is full of fairy types, this battle really wouldn't be a struggle for Emerald either. Bede leads with a Mawile, but I actually sent out Grass first because I had a plan. After being hit by an Iron Head, I hit the Mawile with a Will-O-Wisp, not only burning it but also having its attack. I then sent out Emerald and left her in the perfect spot to start setting up both with Iron Defenses and Home Claws. And the goal here was just to buff up her attack as much as possible. And after quadrupling her attacking power, it was time time to get this battle started. Gardevoir was up first, and guess what? Here comes a Steel Wing. And what about Rapidash? Steel Wing. Last but not least was a Dynamax Tatooine. Steel Wing. Next up was a rematch with my favorite gym leader, Nessa, because just like last time, Lime absolutely wiped the floor with her. You've really got to get rid of that Dreadnought. Maybe Team Star will take it. Although I relied completely on Boomslang to help me destroy Bea during our last encounter, this time I had Emerald and Amazon. Battling this fighting type leader was not a struggle at all. And while Raihan caused me a lot of pain the last time we met, with a couple of one-hit KOs via Amazon and another massive setup with Emerald, Duraludon went down without a fight. Now, before taking on my final battle in Leon, I still had a couple of tasks to complete before I'd be ready. But the only real roadblock I was facing was perhaps the hardest battle in this run, in Chairman Rose. His team of steel types were basically the perfect counter to most of my team, while I really had no type advantage against him. I mean, Grass is strong and all, but with a low speed stat and no way of setting up attack here, it could only get me so far. Here's how it went. Chairman Rose started off with an Escavalier while I sent out Grass. A Heat Crash was more than enough to earn me the KO here. Ferrothorn was also slower, and that allowed me to secure one more easy dub because even though it didn't KO, he just cursed in return, letting me end the duel off right after. Okay, Klinklang was a super easy KO too, but this is where things get tricky. Wait, my bad, that was a little early. Okay, now here's where it gets tricky. Copperajah would be able to one-shot basically any of my Pokemon, apart from Emerald. But although I could safely swap her in, I had no moves that could deal any meaningful damage to that massive mammoth. My best bet here was just to stock up on iron defenses and pray that she wouldn't land a crit on Emerald, because although I could relatively safely set up iron defenses and home claws, if a crit hit through my defenses and KO'd Emerald, Copperajah could and would absolutely wreck the rest of my team too. Thankfully for me, that didn't happen, and I managed to scrape the barrel and defeat my penultimate foe. Everything in this run, all my challenges and struggles, all have led to this following moment. I stepped onto the battlefield for one last time, facing my last challenger in Champion Leon. Let's see if I can become Champion of Galar using only shiny Pokemon. Leon led with Aegislash while I sent out Grass. He protected himself with a King Shield, which lowered my attack, and I thought that would prevent me from getting the upper hand here. But after tanking a Sacred Sword surprisingly well, I found that Heat Crash was still enough to get the one hit. Grass, you're one hell of a beast. Haxorus would be an issue though, but as I knew he'd go for an Earthquake, I was able to get the free swap out into Emerald. While Outrage was his next move of choice, I really wasn't worried as I could start my setup right after. His Outrage started doing less and less damage, while Steel Wing was actually pretty effective. Emerald was able to finish off Haxorus all by herself. Cinderace had the typing advantage here, so I sent out Cucumber to play defense. I of course started off with a Baneful Bunker to leave the bunny poisoned, and while he could barely hurt Cucumber with Acrobatics, Liquidation hit back hard, and after poisoning it one last time, honestly, just for the fun of it, I finished this duel off with one last Liquidation. Seismitoad's typing left it super vulnerable to Lime, but not wanting to unnecessarily hurt him, I thought it would just be smarter to let Cucumber get KO'd for the greater cause. You did amazing though. Lime's quad effectiveness was never not gonna result in a one-hit on Seismitoad. Dragapult's Flamethrower would have been a one-hit, so I had to swap out into Bamboo for some safety. It tanked the hit like it was nothing, and after resisting a Dragon Breath super well, its Dragon Tail somehow one-hit the Dragapult. Wow, maybe I was wrong about it. Charizard was my last foe, and while I would have loved to save Bamboo, there was no chance, and so I just had to let it go. It really pained me seeing my longtime partners get KO'd, but it was for the better of this battle as I unfortunately had to sacrifice Emerald too. I was hoping Lime would be able to outspeed here, but of course there was no chance, and I was left at my final two Pokemon, but there was some good news here. Charizard's G-Max was over, and Grass had a stab boosted quad effective move in his arsenal, and after tanking an Ancient Power like it was nothing, one Rock Blast was enough to KO Leon's ace. Well, close enough. And that's the story of how I became Champion of Galar using only shiny Pokemon. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video, and I'll see you guys later.